The Bohemian Grove is a 2,700-acre pristine redwood forest in Northern California. During the last 2 weeks of July, the wealthy, powerful, and their guests camp out in their lavish huts and tents. They get together to hang out, and, oh yeah, plan on how to get richer and richer, while you and I get poorer and poorer. The crazy thing is, if that was the only thing they were doing, I might have been okay with it. But nothing prepared me, and nothing will prepare you for what you are about to witness.
Shall we burn thee once again this night? And in the flames that eat thine effigy, we shall read the sign, Midsummer sets us free!
I'm sure most of you have heard of this by now. It's the subject of a lot of conspiracy theories, especially ones that have to do with the New World Order, and how they control everything around the world. I'm talking about the one and only Bohemian Grove. Every July for 2 weeks, more than 2,000 men who are members or guests of this exclusive club get together and just have fun. Of course, not all members stay for the whole 2 weeks. Some only stay for one of the weekends, a few days, or one of the weeks. But every member, wherever they might be, must be available to be present at least once every July. And this club is where you find the main man of every industry you can think of. The Bohemian Grove makes Epstein's Island look like child's play in comparison, and it's definitely not for everyone. If you are just a millionaire, you are broke to them. A billionaire? Maybe a yes. That's the caliber of members the Bohemian Grove has. Not everyone can join in so easily. Membership is only by invitation. Anyone who wants to join the club must be recommended by at least 2 regular members who will vouch for his character and describe qualities that will make him a good bohemian. After that, the prospect must fill out an application form, which is of course obtained for him by his sponsors. The form asks for the usual details that are needed when applying for credit or a license, like the family name, business or professional ties, membership in other clubs, and the names of 5 people in the club who know him. The man who wants to join then gives this membership application to his first sponsor, who fills out a section that asks about musical, oratorical, literary, artistic, or dramatic talents, which might become helpful in terms of entertaining other members of the club, and this increases the applicant's chances of being picked. The sponsor also gives the names of 3 club members who are well known to him and know the applicant well. After the first sponsor, the form is sent to the second sponsor, who answers the same questions as the first sponsor and also names 5 club members they know directly. Basically, you can't just get in, even if you own the world. Even before the candidate can become a member, 9 of the 11 people on the membership committee have to vote for him. If 3 people decide against him, he can't be suggested again for at least 3 years. Now, getting enough votes does not automatically make someone a member. It just gets you into the front door. There's a long waiting list of people who want to join, and you can be on that list for 20 years. Trust me, 20 years is plenty of time. Next, if you get into the Grove, you need to sleep around, which means you need to look for a camp that will take you. This step can be a pain even after you get into the Grove. If the camp where all of your friends are is full, you have to wait for someone to die before you can join. If you want to join that camp, you have to somehow convince the people there to add a bed, which means make it bigger. But in all honesty, you have a better chance of waiting for someone to die than convincing a camp to increase their members. Though there is no waiting list for anyone with a talent for singing, and if you are Jinx material, which means you'll write or perform in Grove plays and shows, then they'll zip you right through. You may be wondering why someone has to go through all these tedious hoops just to join a club. In some cases, you can't join until someone dies, and then a spot is opened up. And, oh, did I mention? No women are allowed. Only men all through. Their reason is that they don't want women to dampen their fun with etiquette and rules. They just want to drink with no holds barred, pee where and when they want without using the toilet, and just be fully douche without interruption. Which, to be fair, if a woman was around, wouldn't happen. Now, so far, all I've said sounds okay and normal. I mean, most fraternities are like that too, and they're just harmless, which is true, but in this scenario, this cult isn't really the Phi Beta Kappa society, but something way worse. And just like with every cult out there, the exterior is always pleasing and okay, until you click I accept, and that's when you see what you really signed up for.
The owl is in his leafy temple. Let all within the grove be reverent before him. Lift up your heads, O ye trees, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting spires. For behold, here is Bohemian shrine, and holy are the pillars of this house. Breathing spiders, come not here.
What you just watched is the entrance to a ritual known as the Cremation of Care, a ritual that is practiced in Bohemian Grove. The Cremation of Care is an initiation ceremony held on the first day of a Grove camp. Now, officially their statement or reason for this is that this is an allegory of some sort, and not to be taken seriously. Basically, this is just a vivid visual reminder for campers to forget about their worldly duties and responsibilities and instead focus on having fun, just like they did when they were young and carefree. And everything here we see is just for fun, it's nothing serious or deep. But don't worry, in this video I won't try to change your mind. I will let you decide when you watch an exclusive clip of the ritual if it's just for fun or if there's something serious. The Cremation of Care is what everyone looks forward to. The story doesn't change much from year to year. It starts with low, sad sounds of a funeral song coming from behind one of the hills near the eating circle. As you turn your head in that direction, you can just barely make out the shapes of men wearing red robes with pointed caps. They're playing music for funerals, and some of them are holding long candles whose lights look perplexing against the dark forest. As the procession gets closer to the circle, the dim figures become easier to see, and people's attention is drawn to a group of guys they haven't seen before, and they're holding a big wooden box with them. The box turns out to be an open coffin, and inside is a body. Now, this is where opinions differ, because some say it is a human body, and others say it is not. Just a body that looks so real that it could be real at first glance, a fake made of black cloth wrapped around a wooden skeleton. This is known as the body of care, which stands for the worries and ills that important men are said to have to deal with every day, and this body is going to be burned at the stake. The cortege now slowly walks past the dining area, and the men in the eating circle line up behind the masked priests and pallbearers to follow the body of care anywhere it needs to go. The whole parade, mostly white and mostly older people, goes along a road that leads to a little lake. You know what? I'm just gonna stop talking and let you guys watch. I was gonna play the clip at the later part of this video because it's long, but I'd rather show than tell. By the way, this is an 18-minute clip, so make sure you're somewhere you can watch. Also, use headphones before people start looking at you weirdly. Well, here's the clip.
When we against thee, and some thou shalt destroy. But this too we know. Year after year within this happy grove, our fellowship bans thee for a space. Thy malevolence which would pursue us here has lost its power under these friendly trees. So shall we burn thee once again this night, and in the flames that eat thine effigy, we shall read the sign, Midsummer sets us free.
Ye shall burn me once again! Now but leave flame, which hither ye have brought from regions where I reign. Ye fools and priests, I spit upon your fire.
Wow. Prince of all mortal wisdom, thou of Bohemia, we beseech thee, grant us thy counsel.
That's a lot. Now, tell me, does that look like something done for fun to you? I'll let you answer in the comments. That video was from the channel Dimensions of Your Mind, and it's 33 minutes long. There's a link in the description to watch the full video. The crazy thing is that this video is hard to find. I was lucky enough to find it from a link on Quora during my research. You can't find this clip even if you search for it on YouTube. It's almost like a certain algorithm is trying everything in its power not to show you this video. This is the second time I'm editing this script. The first channel I used as a reference got their account terminated. I was very lucky to find another channel that uploaded this clip. If you think I'm lying, you can pause this video right now and see if you can find this Bohemian video on YouTube. What you would mostly see are commentary videos based on this topic. Most channels don't even show the video at all. They're working extra hard to erase the truth. The commentary voice you were hearing was from Alex Jones, a radio host who heard rumors about the Bohemian Grove and their weird practices and decided to investigate for himself to find out if they were true or not. And even he couldn't believe what he saw. Now, why this is important is because this is not just some random cult group with maybe dumb celebrities that can be easily manipulated. No, this is a group where the 1% of the 1% are in. Many US presidents and other political leaders, business executives, and some of the world's most prominent men, including Nixon, Eisenhower, Roosevelt, 4 generations of the Bush family, Hoover, Ford, Reagan himself, Colin Powell, Dick Cheney, Henry Kissinger, and a healthy selection of White House Chief of Staff, senators, secretaries of state, secretaries of defense, army generals, and so on were all in this cult. Everyone you could think of, the movers and the shakers of the world, all had to go through this cult. It was like a rite of passage. You can't make it as a political person, and definitely not the President of the United States, if you were not a member of the Bohemian Grove. This is the summer of 1967 at Owl's Nest Camp in the Bohemian Camp. Around the table, left to right, is Preston Hotchkins, Ronald Reagan by the left and circled, Harvey Hancock is the one standing, Richard Nixon by the right and circled, Glenn T. Seaborg, Jack Sparks, Kevin Winter, an unidentified individual, and Edwin W. Pauley. By the way, this was before Nixon became president. In Nixon's words, while anyone could aspire to be president of the United States, only a few could aspire to be president of the Bohemian Club. This is where most major political policies that affect millions of Americans with ripple effects affecting the whole world are being made. While Reagan was rubbing shoulders with CEOs from United Airlines and United California Bank, Bush was chatting with the presidents of Eastern Airlines and the Bank of America. In such, the Grove is famous for being the site for the planning meeting of the Manhattan Project in September 1942, which helped make the atomic bomb possible. At this meeting were Ernest Lawrence, J. Robert Oppenheimer, the heads of the S1 Executive Committee such as the presidents of Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, as well as members from Standard Oil and General Electric and different military leaders. Of course, Grove members are very proud of this event and often tell newcomers about this meeting. And it's not just governors, senators, or presidents that are here. Major directors of big corporations are also present and included. At least one officer or director from 40 of the 50 largest industrial corporations in America was present, either as a member or a guest. Now, the video we just watched, even though it says it is harmless, it's not entirely so. The ritual is similar to the ritual in the Bible done by the Canaanites to their god Moloch. Moloch was a Canaanite god who was worshipped in Greece, Babylon, and later in Europe. It is often represented by a bull, an owl, or another horned animal, and children are usually offered or sacrificed to it. Does that already sound familiar to what you just watched? I mean, we could see the 45-foot statue of the owl, and even their logo is that of an owl. And yes, the body that was either real or fake is that of a child. It's not an adult as you subconsciously thought, so even if it's fake, and I pray to God it is, it's kind of sick that you would make the body of a child burn. If anything, children are carefree, they don't have worries like we adults do, so why use them as an example? This is also why some people believe this ritual has some neo-druidic infusion in it. Druids regularly sacrificed virgins, be they male or female, by drowning them in lakes. Neo-Druids seem to do this sexually, sacrificing the virginity but not the child. But be it Moloch or Druids, one thing is certain, the sacrifice of children was accepted, and that is a theme we clearly saw in that video, and that is what our world leaders practice. In such, all modern death cults can trace their roots back to this Moloch god. I just want to know what purpose this all serves. Having world leaders congregate and engage in an ancient Canaanite ritual of mock child sacrifice? It is like a way of binding them together, and maybe more. According to them, the child is a metaphor for their job and responsibilities, which is the dull care, and by burning the child, they burn their worries. It's the fact they don't see how wrong that statement is that even makes it a problem. It's like playing a video about ape trauma to an ape victim, and then saying it doesn't matter because your video's not real. Funny enough, it didn't start as a cult, it was more of a gentleman's seclusion thing, like a man cave. A small group of journalists, artists, actors, and lawyers from San Francisco started the Bohemian Club in the early spring of 1872. They wanted to have a place where they could go to enjoy the arts and put on their own shows. They were young and full of life, in a city that was still young and small, but full of a can-do energy, thanks to the gold rush and the trade opportunities with Asia, among other things. A little less than 100 Bohemians got together in the Redwoods in Marin County near Taylorville, now Samuel P. Taylor State Park, on June 29, 1878 for a party to send Edwards off in style. During the party, there was free alcohol and Japanese lights that added to the mood. Late at night, club members retired to the simple comfort of blankets spread out on the thick mat of redwood needles. This was the Vegas before Vegas. Everyone had a great time, so it became a tradition. This fun event happened again the next year, but this time without Edwards. It became the club's annual campout. By 1882, club members were camping together in different places in Marin and Sonoma counties, basically staying in places that were close to the location so that it would be easier to join the party when it started. From 1893, Bohemians rented the current location and in 1899 purchased it from Melvin Cyrus Meeker, who had developed a successful logging operation in the area. Over the next few decades, club members slowly bought land around the original site until it reached the edge of the bay where it lived. Of course, this is the history that is sold to you, which is true. If anything, this sounds like a frat in college just having fun and drinking. And maybe that's what started it until somehow and somewhere, someone started adding elements of occult practices into it. It's like they took something harmless at first and remade it into their own weird cultish thing. And it's not surprising that the world leaders or anyone who wants to be someone has to be here. The world, as the Bible says, is under the power of the devil, and I guess for you to rule his world, you have to be part of his camp. Like I said, there are no women allowed in Bohemian, so sometimes men have to dress in drag and play women's parts, which for now might be nothing, but in the 70s or 80s says a lot, because it wasn't widely accepted back then. And of course, there was a lot of sex going on between them, which was another thing not publicly accepted back then. In 2004, a male sex worker came out to tell the world that his favorite and frequent clients were men from the Bohemian clubs. Remember I said some people don't need to be on a list because of their talents? Well, aside from cracking jokes and singing, there was also space for sex workers, mostly males, who would, well, provide their services. Now, aside from all these events, they have what they call the Lakeside Talks. This is basically the time and place where a running aspirant will come to talk about their political aspiration. No matter how useful the talks are, most members find it very enjoyable to hear official government policy, core big business ideas, and new scientific information from a fellow Bohemian or one of his guests in a casual setting where reporters are not permitted. The Lakeside Talks seem to be very appealing to politicians, as they can talk as they please, do what they want, and not have any repercussions. They also know that the Grove is a great place to get to know world leaders without being seen or heard, especially the ones lurking in the shadows like the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers. Which is strange because their motto is, "Weaving spiders come not here," which means you shouldn't bring your worldly worries here. That's why the Bohemian was made. They may say that means that you can't talk about business in the Grove, but as we already know, people talk about politics and business in the Grove all the time, so either that rule is old-fashioned and doesn't apply anymore, or it doesn't mean what it says. This phrase comes from William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, Act 2, Scene 2. It has nothing to do with any sort of business or discussions or responsibilities. Instead, it has to do with fairies keeping spiders from crawling on Queen Titania of the fairies while she sleeps. So if we look at the phrase in its original context, it seems less like no business and more like no outsiders, which of course is heavily practiced. A lot of people will tell you or will say that it is exaggerated, if anything. Talking about how occultic they are is just us making them feel relevant, when in reality they're not. It's just a gathering with a bunch of men, both old and young, drinking to stupor, pissing anywhere they like, and doing anything they want. And the most beautiful thing is that what happens in Bohemian stays in Bohemian. I mean, take Christianity for example. Some people find the Holy Communion strange, and to be fair, having a cup of grape juice while talking about broken bodies and spilled blood while eating crackers sounds completely crazy by itself, but in reality, it's just a simple copy of the Last Supper. This is what critics use as their point of reasoning, and to an extent, they are right. The cremation of care is just a harmless ritual, but by agreeing and using the Christian example, they indirectly also acknowledged it means something. Christians practice the Holy Communion because it means something to them, even if it will weird you out. So by that extension, the cremation of care also means something, and not the nice version that is being said. Every religion has its way of doing things, even the occult. And due to prying eyes and civilization, we might not use the raw materials as our ancestors did, but we still practice the religion and the rites, believing it to be real. So setting a child on fire in front of an owl statue in the middle of the woods while wearing robes and singing in Latin with the world's richest and most powerful people is already a red flag, and is certainly something not done just for fun. I don't know about you, but that's really creepy. Also, one thing to know is that not everyone will have access to the main inner gathering, so a member can probably spend half their life or all their life, depending on when they die, just having fun, without witnessing the BTS. But those who know. It's just like in the military. Highly sensitive information is only given to those who have proven themselves and have the clearance for such information. First of all, let me be clear. There's nothing wrong if a group of people come together at a specific time to have fun, no matter the age or the class. Of course, there would be comments, people will always say something, but words like death and sacrifice won't be hardly included. Which brings me to what Alex was saying about discrediting things like this.
But see, they've preconditioned us that it doesn't exist. They've preconditioned us that anybody that talks about this stuff and who is against it is a kook or a racist, because it doesn't exist. And then everybody's decided, well, I'm going to be culturally cool. I want to be in style. I want to be accepted. So even when they're hearing the news admit it and tell us how great it is, they've already pre-positioned it psychologically that it's not acceptable, it's not kosher to discuss it. Do you see the tactic they're using there? Mm-hmm. 5 years ago, I would laugh when I heard about black helicopters. I would say, I'm about taxes, I'm about corruption, I'm about getting local control back, I'm about states' rights, everything's coming under federal control. I was pretty mainstream, what you'd call so-called conservative. Then I saw the light when black helicopters started going into North Carolina. I started going into Florida. They fired into an all-night restaurant in Miami, just training, firing bullets into a place where people were eating. They started burning buildings. Police chiefs started throwing them out of their town, San Antonio. All this started happening, and I said, whoa, this is real. And then I realized that I was preconditioned, even as a so-called conservative person who understood that the media lied. I didn't realize how thick the propaganda was. That they preconditioned us before they released something on us that it, number one, doesn't exist in our minds with classic doublethink, but then it can re-exist at the same time if they say it does and it's good. So it's literally George Orwell's doublethink, and one has to have it to stay sane in this world. Well, I refuse to be a part of it.
And he does have a point. I mean, look at aliens. For decades, the government denied aliens or even UAP. To them, everything had an explanation. And then in 2022 or 23, they came out to say we were right, but by that time, no one cared. What they wanted worked. We did an extensive video on it. And the same is happening with the Bohemian. Well, all I will say is that whenever I hear a politician and the word art together, it's either 36 visits to an island or something just as degenerate.